The first week of the state legislative session is in the books. Frankly, it's been weird. Plexiglass panels divide representatives. There was no State of the State address and little opening day pageantry. Nobody met Wednesday because of inaugural security concerns, as you know, which might have been founded, but didn't amount to anything, thank goodness. Now the lawmaking begins. Appropriately, our three-line opinion panelists are joining us by Zoom. One, a very familiar but always welcome face, attorney Sophie Martin. I love that wave, Sophie. And two, we'll continue to see more of, former reporter for the Santa Fe, New Mexican, Steve Terrell, and radio personality TJ Trout, he was the host of his own show on 96.3 KOB, afternoons 3 to 6 p.m. Welcome to all of you. Steve, let me start with you, our legislative veteran. Republicans in both chambers are upset about the way the Democratic majority has gone about setting up the session. They say it's not transparent, harder to testify in committee, and easier to make last-minute changes to legislation that gets minimal security. I want to get your early thought on that. What have you sensed so far?
Well, they may actually have a point there about, public access, because there is no public access except for Zoom. So, yeah, that's I don't know if I'd do it any differently. But that is a problem. Mm-hmm. Of course, when the legislature is in session, some of those tiny little committee rooms, if you're not there, an hour before the committee meeting meets, you're not going to get a seat.
Right.
So there's access issues even with when there's not a pandemic and it is open.
Yeah. Hey, Steve, let me ask you this, Steve. I got another thing for you here. Your old colleague Robert Knott wrote about, quote, work groups, end quote, that key lawmakers are assembling instead of conference committees to conduct negotiations in private. This is vastly the other direction that folks were expecting when transparency was the issue here. I'm curious what you think about that. I mean, it's almost daring people to, have a problem with this.
Yeah. I'd have a problem with that if I was trying to cover the legislature too. Mm-hmm. The truth is, a lot of people just don't like to do business in public. When people tend to speechify, and make grand rhetoric when they could just be doing work. I have a problem with that. I can't wait for this thing to be over.
Exactly.
Not the session, but the pandemic.
Exactly. Hey, TJ Trout.
Yes.
There's a lot of concerns out there about lobbyists not able to do their thing, so to speak. And if you all want to touch on this, that's fine too. Yeah. Access is an issue. We have a citizen legislature. It is all about access, human access. Right. Is the public being served when lobbyists can't get access?
You know what drives me nuts? We got a freaking pandemic going on, and we're in new territory here. Nobody's had to go through this before, and so we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants here. Mm-hmm. And it just irritates me to no end that look, we have to adapt, because if we don't adapt, what are we going to do? So what are our options here? Do we want to risk people getting infected, sick, possibly dying, because some people are insisting that all this stuff gets done in person? I think that is absolutely ridiculous. We have to understand what the country and what we're going through right now. I mean, we have to adapt. We have to adapt right now. It's not going to work. Now, yesterday I was talking on the air about this, and I think the best way with lobbyists to get access, I think every day at noon, you hold a tailgate back in the parking lot. You get the brats, you get the beer, you get everybody out there in the parking lot, come together, and
nice.
They can be lobbied, they can express their issues, and sure, just go crazy. The thing is, in the past, it would have happened that way behind closed doors anyway. So bring it out into the open.
Right.
Have it in the parking lot.
That's right. Sophie, we're laughing, but transparency is like the word around here for the last decade. We need to have some transparency here.
That's true. Yeah. And, I think about the fact that it was just a few years ago that there was a tremendous amount of pushback against broadcasting legislative sessions, right, that you had to actually kind of be in the room, for lack of a better way to put it, in order to really participate. And I think actually of the changes, to TJ's point, the changes that we've all had to make, and seeing that how the courts in New Mexico, which is dealing with major constitutional rights issues, et cetera, have tried to remain sensitive to, on one hand, we have to balance the rights of the people with the fact that we have this pandemic going on, and we need to try to keep people safe. One of the disappointing things I have to say about the state Republican Party's response to these issues is that they haven't come forward with, here's how, if we're concerned about transparency and access and all of those things, which the Republicans say they are, their solution is, let's wait and not have our legislative session right now. But I think most New Mexicans would probably agree that waiting even longer than we've had to wait for solutions from our government is not in fact a good option. And so I would have liked to have seen the Republicans come with more constructive ideas, like the tailgate idea, which I had heard before. I really like. It's going to be cold, but okay. But this is the thing: if we're all operating in goodwill, and I think you may have your opinions about that. If we're operating in goodwill, okay, so bring it. What are your proposals besides let's just not have government for several more months?
Good point there. Or showing up at the on the first day, almost like a stunt. Hey, Steve, I got an interesting question for you. This has been an interesting thing. There's always a lot of complaints that power is held in committee chair seats on both House and Senate side by folks in the Rio Grande Valley, basically. A lot of Santa Feans holding, tough seats. But we have two Gallup-ites, so to speak, now holding some pretty killer seats, finance and appropriations. And I'm just curious where you see the committee chair power shift happening. What's your sense of it so far at this point in the session?
I was pretty surprised that Mimi Stewart, who's the new Senate President pro tem, went ahead and appointed George Munoz, who is one of the more conservative Democrats in the whole Senate caucus, to that post. I have nothing against George myself, but he was the only one who survived of that whole conservative, moderate Democrat group that was targeted. Yep. And he survived, and now he's finance chairman. That did surprise me. I saw Joe Monahan making speculation that there's probably some deal between them, and that he may be very well right there.
But Steve, don't you think, Mimi Stewart, you mentioned her. I got to think had to have been a conversation between her and Mr. Munoz about when she can expect certain bills to draw. Do you know what I mean? This is not something she's just going to take a chance at by appointing this seat. Am I wrong on that?
She is not stupid. No, Mimi's pretty sophisticated when it comes to stuff like that. So, so that probably was part of the deal that that we're all speculating about.
Can I just jump in on that quickly?
Absolutely.
I think it's really interesting. I noticed the quote from Mimi Stewart about the appointment. She didn't say, at least not the quote that I saw, she didn't say, we're so thrilled, this is going to be, a grand new era. She said he was the next in line. And that suggested, that suggested to me that there, perhaps to Steve's point, there was sort of something going on there. But it did sound like, okay, well, here's what I got. Here's how I can justify this. He was the next in line.
That's interesting. We'll see how that plays out. Hey, TJ, I got another one here, too. It's interesting. Payday lending has reappeared. There's now an idea to cap the 175% interest rate down to 36%. And, I don't know. Any sense where lawmakers, can we finally get somewhere on this issue? Is this the time to get payday lending wrestled to the ground?
Sure.
Good time.
I mean, obviously, there's a problem. Anything that charges 175% interest, I mean, you kind of got to look at it. To your point, I mean, yes, I mean, we have so many other pressing issues right now that maybe it's not the time. Can I bring up one of my pressing issues? Do you mind?
No, I don't mind at all.
One of my pet issues this year in the state legislative session is Wi-Fi for the entire state. We've been discussing. I don't mean to wrest control from you, but I mean, it's something. It's always been my opinion. Wi-Fi should be treated like a public utility, and at this point should be required. They should be required to provide state access, even in remote areas. And I think this is so important when you consider the state of our education system right now and what we're going through with the pandemic. I mean, if you got all these school kids who do not have access to Wi-Fi, how are they going to learn remotely? And so I just hope something has moved forward there this time. Anyway, for what it's worth, had to bring that up. Sorry.
No, no need to apologize. That's a great subject. We talk about it a lot.
I remember talking about that like 20 some years ago. There are parts of the state that, frankly, where will I plug in my computer because there's no electricity? But the Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi has been an issue throughout, and we still haven't fixed it. And here we are. To TJ's point, it's a crisis. It's a crisis for this poor kid who has to go. They've resolved the issue then, but national, international news in New Mexico, kid goes and sits outside a library every day. You remember that earlier in 2020, in order to be able to attend school. Kids going to McDonald's to try and attend school. It's beyond. I think it's beyond time, and it kind of goes back to that issue of the legislation, the legislature. How do you have access to the legislature? Well, it's an opportunity, right? Because you don't have to drive to Santa Fe, but not if there's no Wi-Fi in your community.
That's right. Good point there.
Yes, I'm applauding you, TJ. I agree.
Good stuff, TJ. Absolutely. We're out of time on that one. When this group comes back, we'll talk about Joe Biden's immigration plan.